Yep. Good evening, everyone. So, yesterday we learned about how to create a database. So, we discussed about data definition commands. We are learning data definition. So, we are discussing about data definition language commands. In that, we saw one option creating database, and we discussed about character set. What is the character set? So UTF-8 for MB4, MB4. Why it is required? It allows your database to store some special characters like emojis and multilingual content. Emojis and multilingual content. So for that, we need to use collect. Collect also, na? Collect is UTF-8 MB4 underscore Unicode CI. This is what you need to define. So, how to create database and how do you use the database? Another command here, use database. Just a simple point. So you can handle interactions with any database only when it is active. You can make any database active by using use command. So you have to use database name. Database name. So that is the database name. So make sure that you are using the database. This is same in MongoDB also. So MySQL Workbench, we will log in into the connection. And here you saw the command yesterday. Database is in schema. Okay. You can use any database by using this command, right? Now, what is the purpose of this? Yesterday already I explained it, and we will use one database first. Temporarily, I'm just removing them because commands later I will tell you. Huh? Okay, so create database and database name. Database name some sample DB and execute. It is executed. Database is ready, but it is not currently active. If you run any command, then it will not run on any database. You have to make it active. by using use, what is it? Sample DB. And when I run this, it will make it active. You can see it comes in bold letters now. That means it is in active. Now, whatever queries you write, they will work on that database. Otherwise, it will mismatch with the commands. It says that in this database, there is no table by the name you are giving. So because your database active is different and your query is using different, then always make sure that you use. Okay. Next, now in this database, we need to learn how to create tables. So let's go into the concept creating tables. How we can create tables. So first important, we already know basic table arranges data in rows and columns. It provides structured, it provides a schema for data. Arranges data in rows and columns, and it provides a schema. Schema refers to specified structure for data. Specified structure for data. So how do we create a table is we need create table and table name. We need to configure table name. And it is like a function. That means it's a method. In a parenthesis, you have to define the field name. We have to mention the data type and we need to define constraints. We need to set the constraints. Field name, data type, and constraints. So that is how we need to create a table. Create table, table name, and what fields you want in the table. And field name means field name refers to column header. Am I right? And it is a key to access value in table. Field name refers to column header. It refers to column header. It is a key to access value. And what is data type? Data type defines the data structure. It defines the data structure. Data structure means the type of data and the type and range that can be stored. in a field. Right. And constraints. Constraints are used to configure rules for field. They are used to configure certain rules for fields. They are used to configure the rules for fields. Let's see how we can define. So table name, field name, your wish. You can give anything. But data types here, they are not like JavaScript because MongoDB uses all BSON types. MySQL have its own types, but almost data is same. Data will be number, string, booleans, but the type for them will not be exactly same. And what is advantage? These are strongly typed. Strongly typed means because they are structured now. Once you mention the type, it will not allow to store any another type. That means it will allow only the type. That is the reason majority of your data validation will happen with the type itself, because type will mention, data type will mention what type of data and what is the range of data, how much you can store, what you can store, everything can be restricted by using type. This is not there in MongoDB. We can do that in MySQL. Let's see what are the data types. That means we should know what data types are present and how to handle them. So we are going to see here about MySQL data types. We are going to learn about MySQL data types. What are the MySQL data types? First important, numeric data types. What are the numeric types available? We have numeric types tiny int. So tiny int is very small integer. Mostly you can say that it can be used for something like, it can be used for something like age, right? Or you can use, people usually use it for boolean. Boolean means true false. True false means actually not true or false. Boolean 0 or 1. For such things they use. That is tiny int. We have small int. Say small integer. Usually we use this for some details like what day, number, year number, like this, etc. This is just example. Huh? That means a small integer number, 2-digit number, 3-digit number, 4-digit number, like that, a small integer. We have medium int, medium integer, right? What is this medium integer? It is like We can display like some value, like what do you say? Suppose we say some grade scores. So without decimal, without fractions, we can define. We have integer also, or integer. This is nothing but it is an standard integer. So you can define some sales price cost without decimal again. In the number types, what else you have? Big integer. You saw this in JavaScript also, na? So very large integer, right? Suppose student ID, employee ID, some large integers you can store using big int, large numbers. Then we have a float. You know float? S- Small fractions. You can store small fractions. So some like interest rate. Am I right? All such things you can put. So interest rate like concepts you can put in a float. You have double, medium fractions actually. Double means medium fractions. What you can store, uh, like salary, some price, such values you can store using double. Right. Next, what? Decimal is also there, right? Decimal. So large fractions you can put in decimal. This is also good for some price. So we use for price, or any options like, what do you say, sales also, with large number of fractions. So with fractions, for that we can go with decimal. So what else we have? We have a boolean. Boolean, it is used for bool. So stock, active, all such details you can put by using what? Boolean. Actually, it is not true false. It is what it is? Tiny int, 0 or 1. It's not true false here. It is 0 or 1. So these are numeric types. Depends on what type of data you want to store, you can configure them. Right. Next important, we have string type, string data types. What are the string types we are having here is char, and n number of characters. What is this char? It is nothing but a fixed length string, but limited number of characters. Var char and n. This is also, but actually why it is called var char is variable character length. That is why it is called var char. That means little large, but not with any fixed value. If you are having some value changing, then better you always use which one? Varchar. We have tiny text. Tiny text. That is nothing but small text. We have like text. This is like medium text. We have like medium text. This is for large text. These are for large text. We have long text. This is for very large text. So binary and this is nothing but fixed binary. Fixed binary. Usually binaries can contain 0, 1 and all. Usually these are good for storing some documents like PDF documents and all such content. We can use them. There is a var binary also. Variable binary. Var binary is an variable binary. Enum, it is nothing but enumeration. Constant values. A set of constant values you can use enum. So it is a fixed set. Fixed set. We also have set. Variable with multiple sets. Multiple sets of values. These are different string types. Next, another one is date type. We have a date, handles a date value. We have like time, handles time value. So we have date time. Date time handles both date and time. Timestamp is there. It is nothing but auto updated date and time. That means it automatically changes, auto updated date and time. And year for year. So these are date types, huh? Date and time types we are having. And in MySQL, we have binary and large objects. Suppose you want to put a photo, you want to store a document like Excel, Word, PowerPoint documents. They need to be converted into binary and they need to be stored in the database. But I told you, these days we don't prefer this much. What we prefer is we don't prefer converting image into binary and storing in database. We will store a path and we will upload the image into a server location. In a folder we will keep the photo and the path of photo we will keep in the database. That means in the modern web applications it is always recommended to use images and files only as path. Use their path in the database. Don't try to store them in the database. Can we store image in database? Yes, but it's very complicated. Why? That image type must be binary. We have to convert into binary. I told you, binary conversions can be blocked by firewalls. That's the reason it's not recommended. But we have some important types. One is blob. Blob. It is nothing but so binary object. So it is nothing but large object, huh? Binary large object. Binary large object. Actually, it is used for what purpose? Mostly we use this for, uh, you can say that documents. For that, we can use this blob. Tiny blob. We have small blob, medium. We have long blob. It depends how much complex document you are dealing with. So one more important, we have a JSON type. It is actually new. JSON type. So it is new from MySQL 5 plus versions. It is new from currently which version you installed? 9. 9, huh? Yeah. But companies may be still using 8 or any version. So 5 version onwards, it supports JSON. You know, JSON is JavaScript object notation. It is JavaScript object notation, right? And why you need that? It is a key and value collection, right? So these are all the data types. That means actually its type is JSON. Type is JSON. So when you are creating a table, you have to define them. So what we need to do here, we are using sample DB. Make sure that you are using the database. Graphically, you can right click and you can select set as default. If you select set as default, then it becomes active without using command. With command, what you have to do? Use database. That is the database name. Okay, set as default, it will be default. Okay, now we have to use create table and table name. Suppose products is a table. In the products table, what are the fields you want? You need to configure the field name. Field name is, suppose we have a product ID, and we have to mention the data type. So we want to display a tiny integer. Am I right? We need to define a tiny integer. Or you want little large, then you can put it as an integer. Or integer is also considered as number, numeric, right? You can put as numeric also. That means here I missed it. Here integer can be given as numeric also. Numeric is also okay. There you can define as number. Right. Now here I am defining, so some integer also you can give. So tiny int, comma. Next we have a name. We want some varchar, how many characters? Some 20 characters. N refers to number, how many characters string you want. So we want some price and we put as what? Decimal. How many integer precision can be 10? Decimal precision can be 2. That means 10 integer and decimal precision can be 2. 2 decimal precision. 4, 2, any decimal precision you can define. So depends on how you want to configure. But this is not enough. This is not enough. Generally, when you are creating tables, constraints are very important. Constraints are important. For example, I am selecting this table name, field name, and its data type. And when I run the query, so you see it created a table. It created one table, and you see when I refresh, you have the table ready, products is there. Queries we will learn, and you can see the product ID, product name, and product price. That means you can see the columns left side, what columns it is having, it is showing them. So table is designed with these columns. You can see product ID, name, price. But as of now, what is the good about them is whatever you mentioned as data type, they will allow only those types. Only those types. But they can create issues. They can create issues. For example, temporarily, I will show you how to add data. Right click in the table, select rows. Right click on table name, select rows. Later we will learn commands. Don't worry. Just I am showing you the basic. When we select rows, it is asking enter the data here, product ID, name, and price. Now what we need to do is we need to enter the data here. That means we need, as of now, it is showing only normal. There is nothing now, right? We need to insert data into this. Now you see result grid, form editor. You see form editor contains right side. It will show in different ways. It will show in different ways, and you will see all the data about it, statistics and everything it will show. Okay, you can see this is the field name and table and its data type and you see by default var carries UTF-8 MB4, right? That means it will allow some special characters also, na? It will allow some special characters. Now we are having the data here. That means this is the data. We don't have data, we need to insert some data into that. Am I right? If I want to insert data into this, then how do we insert the data? We have insert command. But what is problem is the product ID, what I defined, the product ID or name, price, they don't have restriction about their data. They have restriction about their data type. That means, can I put a number? Can I put a string in product ID? No, you cannot put a string in product ID. Product ID must be a number, name must be a string, and price must be a decimal. This will validate. But if I add one more record with product ID same as previous, it will take. If I give name same, then it will take. If I don't enter product ID and skip it, then it will accept. By default, it will take as null. That means data type restrictions are there, but limit restrictions related to validation is not there. That means we need some validation restrictions also. We need to set some rules. And those rules are considered as what? Constraints. That means while configuring the fields, data type will restrict the type, but it will not set rules. We need to set some rules like this field should not repeat its value, right? We need to make sure that this field is not left empty. It is having some value. We have to set some validations and rules, and that you can define by using what? Constraints. So creating a table without constraints cannot make it good in relationships also. It is mandatory to have certain constraints. Let's see what are those. First, remember, one by one detail constraints we will learn. First, I will give a list about the point. So what is the concept here is, these are MySQL data types. And let's see here another one, MySQL constraints. MySQL constraints. So constraints define rules for fields in a table. Rules about the behavior of data in fields. Constraint can verify across rows in a table. So the constraints categorize into various groups. We have different groups of constraints. First important is column constraints. We have column constraints. So what are the column constraints? We have not null. Not null. So One by one detail I will explain later. So unique, default, auto increment. What is not null? Detail I will explain. What is not null? Not null indicates that it must have a value. You cannot leave it empty. I will detail give that. First, we have primary key. Primary key. We have check constant. Check constant. We have comment. Comment also a constant. This comes under the category of what? Column constants. You have relationship based constants also. Foreign key constants. Foreign key constants. We have a foreign key. Generally, in foreign key constants, again, so many will be there. What are those? Foreign key. Foreign key. Another one, we have some keywords like cascade, set null, restrict. Individually, while dealing with them, I will explain. And no action. These are foreign key constants. Column constants, foreign key constants. One by one, we need to see how to use these constants. So first important is when you are dealing with these constants, see, this is our table. Yeah. Now in this table, it is showing us the data, right? We are selecting the rows. Already it is there. Yeah. We created a table. I will recreate this table by dropping the table. Drop table. Okay. Command is same. Same command is there. Create table and table name and product ID. Some tiny integer we define. Now, according to relational database management system, one basic rule, first important rule is every table must have a ID, a unique ID, identification for every record inside table. That means even in MongoDB also they have. What is that? Auto index ID. I told you, na? Auto index ID, even you don't define by default, every row, every document have an ID. That is a unique ID for identification. So in relational database management system, it is mandatory and important that every table must have a unique identification. So, and that we generally call as primary key. Primary key is mandatory for configuring relationships. Not only that, it is mandatory for handling operations on data like update, delete. Generally, in MongoDB, you can index on any field. That means if you want to update any record, you can index on any field. But in relational database, you have to index on only primary key field. That means if I want to update a record, that record can be updated by using primary key. Without that also it allows. There is a option for that. We have to disable the indexing of primary key, then it will allow. But it is always recommended in general relational database to have a primary key as a indexing field. So what is the first important constraint? One by one we will see the constraints. First one is what? Primary key constraint. Primary key constraint. So primary key. So RDBMS requires an unique identification for every record in database table. So a unique identification for every record. It is used for indexing. It is used for indexing. Indexing is required for handling interactions like update, delete, etc. Right. And very important is primary key. Primary key cannot be null. Primary key cannot be null. That means the field configured as primary key must have a value. Understood? Another important is primary key must be unique. Must be unique. That means value cannot be same across records. Cannot be same across records. When you set any field as primary key, automatically it will be not null and it will be unique. It will automatically take them as constants. By default, constants. That means by default, what primary key is going to do? Primary key is going to set not null and it is going to set unique. Default it will set. That means you cannot leave it empty and you cannot use the same value across records, right? Value must be different. That's important. Default it will do that. So for example, so what we are doing here, so the product ID, data type and constraint. Constraint is what? Primary key. I am defining the constraint as primary key. And when you give primary key, you don't need to mention unique. You don't need to mention not null. You don't need to mention these two. Why? Because by default, primary key is unique and not null. By default, it is unique and not null. For example, you see here, I will copy this. I will execute. The table is created. You see the table is there. And this is the table structure in the columns. You can see this is the table and you see it is primary key. We will do one thing, describe table. So you can describe table. I will use the query, another query. So it's not new schema. We will just, so use another query. And the query is nothing but we will just put one simple option. What is it? I'll take a new query window, better. So what is that? Describe. Describe the table. Table name is what? Products. So that means we are describing the products. That means it will get the field. Describe is used to DESC and the table. It will give you the information about table. And describe is nothing but, so you can just use this command, right? Later I will give you. See, field name is product ID and data type is tiny integer. Null is no. Null is no because by default it must have a value and it must be unique also. That means it should be unique. So the key is defined as what? Primary. And usually primary key must be unique. So it must be unique also. Later, I will show you that here. You can see the fields and the data types are defined here. And what character set, what precisions, later you will understand about them. Initially, the description is enough to understand, right? Later, while inserting data, you will see that, right? How do we insert? You will see inserting records, then you will understand. As of now, I will just select rows. And when I select rows, and you can see it is showing like this. And now observe, I can enter the product ID. Suppose I am leaving the product ID empty. I am leaving the product ID empty. I am entering some name and I am entering some price like this. And I click on apply and you see it runs one command. Don't worry, later we will learn. I'm just explaining about constraint, right? Now, when I click apply, what will happen? It shows an error. And what is the error? The error is nothing but product ID doesn't have a value, default value. That means you need to put some value. That means it must have some value. Let's close this and we put some value as what? 1. I will keep the value 1 and I am applying and you can see it is applied. It is executed successfully. The data is stored inside. Suppose I am taking the second one also 1. I will write as what? Mobile and I will put different price and I click on apply. When I click on apply and execute the command, it shows error again. Why? So this time it says that duplicate entry for one key. That means what does it means? So it means that it must be unique. It must be unique. You entered a different one and apply and you entered. So, oh, some problem. Duplicate it. We haven't finished now. Yeah, it is done. That means it is going to add number 1 and 2, right? So you have to define a primary key and primary keys are by default not null and by default unique. So here syntax we will take. This is the syntax. I'll just add that syntax here. but better we write the syntax. I'll just put here create table. Capitalization doesn't matter, just for convenience I'm giving. To temporarily practice, you can right click on the table and say select, and it will select the rows, then you can add. But commands, we will learn how to define the commands. And not null is simple. What is not null? This is primary key. We have not null constraint, right? So what does not null constraint? So it specifies that field must have a value. It is used for mandatory fields. So field is uh, considered as required, is considered as required field. Same syntactically how you define create table products, suppose roughly product ID, primary key, and we have name varchar 20 and not null. Understood? Just roughly only the syntax. And what does it means? Name cannot be empty. Name must be there. So you have another one. What is it? Unique constraint. Unique constraint. So unique constraint, it specifies that the value cannot be same across records. Must be unique. Field value must be unique. Unique means you cannot use same value. You cannot use duplicate. Because the error will be shown as duplicate. Syntax same. create table products. Primary key, and here name, some not null, another one. So we will define some product code. Every product code can be varchar 10, but it is not null. Another one, it is what? Unique. Not null and unique. The code given for one product cannot be used for another. You can say name also unique. Right. Now we have default check constants that we'll see tomorrow. In tomorrow's session, we will finish all these constants. Then we will learn about other operations on the tables. So that we'll see in next session. Tomorrow we'll continue. Okay. Right. Anybody not attending React batch? Tomorrow morning React batch starts. New React batch. Morning 7:30 a.m. Okay. Right.